All right, welcome everyone. We are Semblance of Sanity. I'm Caleb.
I'm Jacob.
And we're here for
Bungou Stray Dogs, Season 1, Episode 11. Francis Scott Key Fitzgerald.
Yep. Okay. The USA has arrived. I mean,
right. The AUS, the Ability User Society.
Right. Totally not potentially either an Austrian, an Australian, or an American. One of those three. Yeah. We're pretty sure. I mean, maybe. But, okay, so now we've got, everyone rescued. Everyone's safe.
Yep.
We now know, though, who set the bounty, though, and put the Port Mafia onto Atsushi. Yeah. And given that that's the case, this conflict will go a bit international. It is larger than the Port Mafia. They are essentially just the local hired dogs who were sent after them. Which means that in all reality, they have no attachment to this whole deal other than the money.
Right. And then the whole connection to Dazai, which, made the conflict between Atsushi and Akutagawa very interesting last episode.
Yeah, it made things a bit personal, but then we had people like Chuya who had a little bit of that, like, we were partners, and it was
but now I'm going to go walk away like a schoolgirl.
Yeah, exactly. And also just the idea that he had that much leverage over Chuya, Dazai did, that he was able to make this happen rather easily. Even though they were just fighting like minutes before that. I can already see the shipping just
absolutely
funds itself. The show provides everything you need,
prepackaged.
Everything, exactly. But if we have the next stage of the conflict be about, well, how do we deal with something that's bigger on that level? The guild,
Right.
Do we end up going more insular and seeing the group just kind of come together a little bit more, and then it becomes a little bit more kind of a political thing? Or do we end up seeing just a new wave of people just coming after Atsushi?
And how does that fall into the whole thing of, well, we're almost done with the first season. So, like, are we going to get a really quick hype conflict with this Ability User Society thing and all that stuff, and then it's going to be over? Or will it just be like the first strike that leads into, like, the main conflict of the second season or something like that?
Yeah, if anything, Dazai's panic about the whole thing means that he has, at the very least, some pretty serious awareness of what they're capable of. So, without further ado, let's get into this. All right, everyone, now be sure to go check out the reaction portion of the video in the description below, then come back here for the discussion. Oh my god, this was hilarious, guys. This was so funny. So quickly, let's go through the Higuchi stuff because it was actually pretty serious here. We get a nice little look at what it's like for someone who's in the Port Mafia who's not powerful and someone who doesn't actually have a lot of weight to throw around. It's just kind of given authority to them. What has been delegated is not necessarily something that you have at any given time, because it can be ripped away from you by someone with a gun.
Right.
And we saw that Akutagawa, who happened to be unconscious, now he can't use his ability. No one is going to necessarily take him seriously.
Right. And since he failed, like, the Port Mafia is like, if someone does, do something to him, we don't particularly care, because he kind of deserves it at this point,
Yeah,
exactly. We're not going to stick our necks out for this guy anymore. Yeah, exactly.
We're not going to prohibit the expenditure of our favorite currency just because it does not happen to be ours.
And I gotta say, as far as, like, because I said at the beginning, the intro portion for this video, of like, well, what are they going to do for the rest of the season? Because they introduced this big other external force that's way bigger than Port Mafia, but there's only a couple episodes left in the season. Like, are they going to just get into that and then pause it? Like how is that going to work? Doing something like this where it's, hey, let's give extra contextualization for the people that do care about Akutagawa, right? Because that was the big conflict from the previous episode of, hey, this kid's got a messed up past, right? Because of Dazai in a lot of ways.
Yeah, and he's not getting any better in this regard. In fact, he's hyper fixated on the fact that that Dazai left Akutagawa, left him, and without a word. Now, there's so much that you can unpack with this, but we don't really have much to pinpoint which area of it could be, like, specifically. I mean, it could be all of it. But the main thing is that Dazai not only left him, but did not acknowledge him before leaving. And that's a unique kind of spin on it. It's basically saying, oh, I as a person am not fulfilled or complete until that acknowledgement happens.
Right. Appreciation. Babies cry for it and grown men die for it.
Yeah. Or blow up buildings for it.
Yep. Uh-huh.
It's pretty messed up. But
yeah.
Akutagawa, you have someone nearby who has taken it upon herself for it to be her job to look out for you. I sense a dark Mustang Hawkeye kind of dynamic here.
Yeah, and Akutagawa,
much more sad and pathetic one. But yeah.
Yes, exactly. I hope he realizes at some point, and he might, because of what happened with Atsushi, and him apologizing is a big step in the right direction. But acknowledging that you do not deserve her to be looking out for you, right?
Well, none of us deserve anything.
Right. And in fact, it might not even be so much because she cares about you as much as it is that in that instance, her survival was tied to yours.
Yeah.
Right? Now, turns out it might not have been because the Black Lizard ended up helping her when she went to go rescue him, which does undermine a little bit the whole, cold lesson that they said of, hey, we follow you because of him, not because of you. So without him, what are you?
Sure.
Right?
I do think that the main point is that she learned the lesson because she was about to die.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
She stared down death and chose death.
Yes.
She jumped out of cover, realizing that there are too many of them. She's already been shot. If she doesn't basically scare the shit out of them and get lucky with a bunch of headshots, it's over. I also really like, this is something that I find really dumb in a lot of other series sometimes, but it's how inaccurate people are with guns.
I know. I was going to say that. I was like, get a better submachine gun, girl.
No. That's something I liked here.
Oh.
Because you're firing a submachine gun with one hand.
Oh.
And you're also firing a submachine gun at more than 20 feet away.
They're pretty accurate.
No, they're actually kind of accurate, but
spraying at someone for 5 seconds and not hitting them.
Well, no, that she could have been hitting them, but she wasn't doing anything actually serious to hurt them.
Sure, they did look like they had some protective stuff on them, and if they're suitably badass enough that they were sent on a mission to get Akutagawa, then it's possible that the first few hits they were able to take it in stride.
Yeah, but of course it was a bit exaggerated to show the stuff that this was a really tough fight. But I just liked it personally because there's too many times where people are just crack shots with guns when that's just not realistic. And people miss way more often than they hit with their bullets.
Sure, and the example of in this situation for this scene was that, hey, let's get rid of all the powers and things like that and tell a much more human story because someone is in this crazy world and they somehow have to survive, right? Yep. That is very engaging.
Very terrifying,
if anything, I wish we had more than just half the episode for that story because
well, that's the thing. This is part 1. We could continue this.
Totally.
But it was part 2 within the same episode. But I was just saying that we could come back to this very often.
No, yeah. But the story of, oh no, I'm just a regular human now in this world of people with superpowers, and I don't have anybody, as far as I know and believe, that will help me, and then I have to go do something impossible. That's quite the story to tell. And
yeah, and she's not dead, so the story's going to continue being told. I got you.
Well, well, I would say that the story won't continue to be told not in that way because now she's got people with superpowers that are her friends again.
No, of course not. Yeah. But that's the point.
Her story will continue, but it won't be that story.
Yeah, because that's not the story they're trying to tell here, is that she has to rely on people around her, just like everyone else in the ADA, actually.
They did tell that story.
I know, but they're not trying to tell it for the whole show, necessarily.
Yeah, no, I know.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, that's something that I think as a if that side story is going to be told, they could have totally. The fact that they just did it for half an episode, that's totally fine because the second half of this episode was fantastic, right? But they could have totally had that be a full episode, and I would have been absolutely okay with it. But, yeah. As far as the second half of the episode, was there anything else you wanted to say for the first half? Okay. For the second half of the episode, this has got to be one of my favorite examples of the antics of this show comedically. really cutting loose.
It's really good.
Because sometimes it feels like it's like, okay, we're in a serious moment and then comedy and okay, I kind of like the serious stuff, you know? But like, damn. As just a funny idea for a character, right? Where it's just, oh yeah, I'm a happy little person with freckles and stuff. Oh, sincere communication always wins out in the end. And
Right.
she's like, oh, of course, that's wonderful, right? And then, you know,
Topo just being like, hey, this is going to set a bad example. He doesn't understand the mechanics of why he's doing all this.
Yeah.
So this might be an issue. Now, it ends up being something where he gets to see the full thing play out in front of him. So no, it's not an issue. And Kenji's reasons behind this being, well, all beings are like cows. We're all good. Sometimes, though, cows need bunk. And when cows need bunk, things get a bit better.
right.
Because the cows don't act up anymore because I'm really fucking strong and I can just go buck to where they will not act up again.
Yep.
It's the whole, oh yeah, someone commits a crime, we yeet them off the cliff, and it's over.
Right. He might have been the person doing the eating.
Yep. He actually probably was the one that was doing the yeeting. Because
and they would place bets for the distance that he would, get them to go off the cliff.
I just love the idea that he's in this village, right? And they've got an extreme justice system.
Yes.
In this village, right? But no one probably does crime in this village. Like, no
Probably
one.
not.
Just new people that come in.
Right. They don't know the laws.
They don't know what's going on. It's
Yeah.
like, oh, you buddy, you could have paid for that. But in fact, if you had just said, I don't have the money, I would have given you that apple.
We could figure out something, you know.
We do a bartering system.
Right,
But no, you decided to steal, so yeet. I love it. It's painfully funny. It's so ridiculous. And also, as far as archetypes within stories where you have superpowers, we eventually had to get to the super strength person.
Yes.
So having the super strength come from the most honest, innocent, and not naive necessarily, but like, what would you call that? Like,
well, I might even call it naivete, but but because of his power, the naivete doesn't ever need to go away. Like it just supersedes everything else. It's very aggressive naiveness, And then, naturally, you have people like that one Yakuza dude who shows up and out, so she's terrified, but he's like, oh, yes,
anything for you.
Anything for you. I'll whatever you need, sir.
Right, and we don't get immediately why that is. We just assume there's something else
he's
about
got some
Kenji
scary ability.
We haven't seen yet. And given that every character in this show has some kind of silly kind of twist to them.
Yep.
I think I assumed more accurately that there was something like no twist with regards to this here. Is that he's just really sweet.
Sort of like a Rumpo style situation.
And that he's not powerful. He doesn't have anything. And that was the parallel with Higuchi, was that it's just like, oh, no. Sometimes people just have an approach to the world that works for them. Yeah. And the thing is that eventually, sure, that method might fail. Akutagawa's has had that moment happen rather recently.
Indeed.
Where he's probably got along, for the most part, with the poor mafia just fine. He was apparently one of their top enforcers and everything was going great.
Yep.
But nope, he went a little bit too direct with the ADA.
Yeah.
And got his ass handed to him, multiple times.
And I love this approach for, because, okay, there are a lot of people in the ADA, right? And there's a lot of just characters in this show in general. If you want us to really understand all the different powers that people have and the personality of these characters and how they fit into the group as a whole and things like that, that can take a lot of time,
A lot of time.
Now, doing things like this where you have our main character go off with one of them to do a mission, right? That is a very effective way of doing it. But
one and done.
One and done, right?
Yeah.
But there are certain questions that can, crop up. Why do you send this person on an investigation when Rampo could just figure it out? Well, everyone here is so badass that it doesn't really matter who you send.
No.
2.
Doesn't matter.
Well, how do we make the scenes and skits or whatever interesting when we know that even when the Black Lizard attacks the ADA, they get, totally thrashed, right?
Right.
Well, you make it about the comedy.
Yeah. You don't make it about the conflict at all.
Nope, it's not a question of whether or not they're actually in danger.
Right.
I mean, Atsushi might kind of be in danger, but even then, he hasn't clued into the fact that, like, oh yeah, I'm a tiger. I can get impaled and things like that, and I still turn out okay, you know? So he actually might be able to kind of learn from this approach.
The freaky thing, I think, for Atsushi specifically, is that while he is a tiger and he does have these abilities, he still has the psychological barrier of, this is going to hurt me probably a lot.
Yes, that's true.
And this is what I would call the realistic Subaru effect, where it's basically yes, Subaru does not have to worry about the consequences, but it still might freaking hurt. And, you know, people don't willingly go towards the painful thing, even if they know that afterwards, it's going to be fine afterwards. That's not how people work.
Right. People don't want Akiko to treat them.
They want the path of least resistance.
Exactly. Yeah. And it makes Atsushi a wonderful sort of straight man for the comedic routine of, you know, whoever he's with. And this, I think this was my favorite comedic routine so far.
It was one of the best ones for sure. Dazai's are always pretty high up there.
Dazai's are top tier.
Speaking of which, though, our great leader, Higuchi, with his all men are created equal and his intense stare down of, what was her name? Kyoka. Kyoka. I love how intense he is. Because given the juxtaposition against all these ridiculous characters that are in the ADA...
He seems fairly normal.
Well, no, I have to wait. I have to wonder, when's the other shoe going to drop with him? That's why I had my whole little tirade in the OPs. I'm like, bro, you're like really laying it on thick here. Like, I get it. You wanted to make sure she's serious. That's good. But when's the moment when someone opens up his office and sees him playing with dolls and he's just like, no, Dazai, I want you to notice me. It's like, but buddy, you're a Baka and I don't care about you. Daddy, why?
And then when he sees that someone sees it, he quickly tries to hide it because it's like, no, you don't understand. In order to corral all these bumbling idiots that never take anything seriously,
no way.
I have to be super serious, and that is draining, that is stressful. So I take my moments of respite when I can, and don't you dare break the image that I've worked so long to maintain.
She's like, oh, here's your stress tea. He's like,
oh, sweet. It has the leaf, you know, floating upright. Yeah, good luck. All right.
Ouch. Exactly. But, okay. All right, getting back to the comedy side of things, introducing more of the cast that we had given the names of their abilities and, of course, their names themselves before, but we had not actually been introduced to them as people.
Right.
So, looking forward to seeing them do that with maybe...
Who would be next?
I think they've done everyone then.
Yeah, I think so, because they did the brother and sister.
And they've done the OG squad then.
Maybe if they wanted to do the president...
The president would maybe be next.
Like, have, like, you know, for the final episode or something. Because there are 12 or 13 episodes in this season.
I don't remember.
Okay, but, like, maybe you just have something where it's, like, randomly, like, a day in the life of the president.
Yes, with Kirako, the secretary, just kind of being like, yes.
All right,
this stuff. Absolutely. Yep. He, like, bumps in to Akutagawa, and he's like, you tell Dazai. Just, like, flattens him, and he's like, all right, yes, now let's make sure we get my mochi balls. And
or Akutagawa's like, who bumped it? And then he just starts bowing profusely and, like, backing away. But
I'd love to see that too. All right. But y'all, thank you so much for watching this episode's reaction and discussion. If you want to see the next episode's reaction and discussion right now, though, go check out the link in the description below. For our Patreon, you can get an early access there. You can watch full-length timer reactions there, and all this comes with Discord access, so you can chat with us in the community there about this show, about anime in general, and also be sure to check out our Twitch channel.
We stream every weekday. The info's in the description.
Yeah, so if any of that interests you, we'll see you there. But until then, we're Semblance of Sanity. I'm Caleb.
I'm Jacob.
And we'll see you all next time.